looking for some real conversation and a little cup of coffee. We've all been in different situations, so now let's talk about them until you're sitting down and talking it out. You really don't know what someone's about. Come on over for some real conversation and a little cup of coffee. We've all been in different situations, so now let's talk about them. I wanna know what's going on in your head. Let you get it off your chest. 'Cause sometimes that's all that you need. Just a little place where you can vent. When I'm feeling down in the dumps, I talk to Sandra and she always cheers me up. Come on over for some real conversation and a little cup of coffee. We've all been in different situations, so now let's talk about them. I know all the things that you may have heard, but it's always best to get it from them in their own words. The same thing that we all deserve. Come on over for some real conversation and a little cup of coffee. We've all been in different situations, so now let's talk about them. When I'm feeling down in the dumps, I talk to Sandra and she always cheers me up. Come on over for some real conversation and a little cup of coffee. There's no need for any kind of hesitation. Just try to stop me. Come on over for some real conversation and a little cup of coffee. We've all been in different situations, so now let's talk about them.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much. Coffee Talk with Sandra. Tonight we've got Askin. And let me tell you something. You guys are not going to be disappointed. In fact, just 5 minutes before the show, I'm like, thank you, God, for giving me this. This is what my soul needed. And so let me introduce you, everybody. This is Pi Anon. What is up, Pi? I'm so glad you're here.
Good evening, Sandra. Thanks for having me. And good evening, everybody that's watching. Thanks for tuning in.
Yes. I mean, I could not be happier to see you. Okay, I'll go to our full panel so we can have a little conversation. Okay, so let's say hi to the chat and everyone. Everybody, I'm so glad you're here. The family ship of Coffee Talk and all our friends. And look, oh, Pi, you've brought people to the house. What's up, peeps? You see your friends?
Yeah, so cool. Here we go.
There we go. I'm very happy you're all here. I've missed you. I've missed you all so much. Okay, so here's how I met Pi. Not that I have to meet everybody I talk to, but I love Pi. And the reason why I love Pi is because Pi don't take no shit at all. And he always has people's back. You know, especially Enoch. You all know I love Enoch. And he always has Enoch's back. Not because, you know, I mean, I'm sure you guys are best buds, but you have his back because, oh, wait. Is that, I think there's two words, reading comprehension.
Yeah, that's something that's lacking in the community sometimes, for sure.
Yes.
And when it comes to Enoch, I've known him for quite some time. I've worked with him on a few of his projects, and I definitely consider him a dear friend. We did I helped him. I started out helping him with MAGApalooza until my FBI situation happened. But before that, it was the Midnight Ride Caravan, and I also helped mod a couple of his. I modded his chat and Telegram and on his YouTube, etc. And and hang out in his Gilded and everything. And he's definitely been a good friend to me. And he's a big personality in the movement. He's the most queued Anon there is. So he's a solid dude for sure. And I do have the reputation of being a bit of a bulldog in his chat and Telegram, but he likes to have it modded heavy because we don't want spam. We want it to be a comfortable place we can hang out and actually have debates, discussions, bring up something that's going to have some fruit to it and some sauce instead of just the constant posting of random stuff that disrupts conversations. That's a tactic used by the other side to confuse people and to stop them from being able to, put their heads together.
Yeah, I want to say this. Thank you, It's Marcy and AF Soldier for the lemons. The ice creams. Still lemons. That's the thing. It's, we say the other side, but I got to tell you, there's a reason why Q brought up there's a very important word, and I don't know that people really understand what the word infiltration means. There's infiltration. Infiltration, it doesn't mean, there's a wolf in sheep's clothing. You don't know it's a wolf because it's in sheep clothing. And you brought up a very important, very, very, very important point. And that was, before we came live, that was what? You were talking about what people are pushing in the negative. And will you expand on that? Because I think people need to understand.
Well, yeah, the one thing that I'm hearing quite a bit about is that it actually worries me, and a lot of us have talked about it previously, is, there's quote unquote patriots that are in these chat groups, and I believe that many of them do want to see the best for the movement, but they don't understand the big picture of what they're actually saying. But they're asking to get people to go to the streets and to protest, and they'll even be like, well, we can get a permit and have the cops there to keep people from causing trouble. But what they don't understand is the definition of infiltration is those that have malicious intent or nefarious means. They'll put on the garb and make themselves look like they're part of your quote unquote movement, but they have the intention of causing trouble and making it look like it's you. So we saw that on January 6th, and some real patriots got caught up in it, in the emotions, and they partook of what they thought other real patriots were doing. And it all turned out bad. And the thing is about January 6th is that they had a permit for there too. And there were cops there to keep trouble from happening there as well. So a permit isn't going to protect you. You got to be smart enough to not get caught up in a situation that is going to, devolve into chaos. And to have, one thing I try to explain to folks is, I was in the military, Navy, go Navy. I swore an oath to the Constitution, right? And understanding that oath, as much as I do, is that I have enough respect for the Constitution to allow it to fail. And the Constitution has checks and balances and different aspects in it that are to protect itself and to protect us and our freedoms and our liberties as citizens, right? And the final fail-safe for all of it is the military. The military swears that to that oath, and they're not relieved of that oath once you get out of the service either. But that has to go with having enough respect to allow those checks and balances to work themselves out. For example, whenever Texas, and I believe it was 17 other states, had raised an issue against the election and brought it to the Supreme Court denied to even hear their case. And that is a failure of the constitutional process right there, that one bit. And because that is their original jurisdiction, they are supposed to settle disputes between states, especially on constitutional matters. But they denied even the ability to hear it. Like, they didn't want anything to do with it. And so that is just one example of how we're supposed to sit back and allow the checks and balances to work themselves out. And now we have other means that are going to be brought before different courts and federal judges and, you know, injunctions and things, the legal process and the bureaucracy. Taking to the streets is only going to cause, I guess you could call them the other side, you know, the ability to put us into a trap and make us look bad, to smear us. And we don't want any of that. You know, we are a peaceful movement. I mean, myself, I'm staunchly nonviolent. I believe in direct self-defense, but there's no reason for any of us to be, quote unquote, taking to the streets right now. You know, bureaucracy is what changes nations. Violence is what destroys them. And so if we get deemed the enemy by the public opinion and by the mainstream media because they are the, you know, wolves in sheep's clothing, then it's only going to hurt the movement in general. It's going to make it to where no federal judge or no court would ever want to even hear anything on our side, because we would automatically be deemed an insurrection, or to be deemed in, you know, bad for our nation. And so it's counterproductive. You know, people can stand there with a sign and do any type of individual thing you want, but don't try to rally up the troops, for example, to go out there and go surround your capitals and do all these protests, because all you're going to do is set yourself up for failure. And for people that are truly wanting to make a difference, then we need to do what we're doing now. We need to fight the narrative that is being pushed, let folks realize that they're being lied to by giving them verifiable truth, verifiable facts. And that goes into a whole other thing with the reading comprehension too, is, you know, if you start to try to red pill somebody and you start off your conversation with, well, I think, and I, you know, different speculations and stuff that you can't independently verify, they're not going to believe you, because they'll go look it up. They can't prove it. They think you're full of it. Mm-hmm. You know, hit them with facts. There's plenty out there. You know, and it's very obvious that we're being lied to. So that, you know, understand what it is that you're reading, take the time to maybe read it more than once and verify exactly what it is that you're looking at before you go out and try to spread something. You know, I would rather be right than being first on news. And that's a big problem that the mainstream media has nowadays, is they see a clip and they just run with it, and they're told what to say, and then they, you know, they want to be the first to release a story, and then they have to go back 50 different times and change it because they were wrong from the get-go. And if we're going to be holding them to a high standard, then we have to be able to fit within that standard ourselves.
And I'm going to say this, and, you know, not everybody has the time, right? Not everyone has the time to go verify things, right? So I'm going to be honest with you. This is why I am all up in Enoch's business because I know that he will not put anything up that is not verifiable. I trust Enoch. I put my whole I would put my whole, and I do. Anyone that knows me, like in the beginning of me doing Coffee Talk, people will come on and they just want to talk stuff. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that here. This isn't what we're doing. Everything we have to discuss news-wise, it has to be verified. Because what happens, what people don't understand, is if you can't verify and then you talking shit, no one's going to trust you. So when you have the most important things going on, who's going to fucking trust you? Because you don't give. So that's why I don't play around. Anyone knows on my shows, when it's just me, it's always Enoch, because Enoch has earned my trust. Not just now. I have loved him since I found him on Twitter back in 16 or 17. I followed this guy. I never knew how freaking awesome he was behind the keyboard. But he verifies everything, and he always says he's blessed enough to have the time. And that's why he does it. And so I trust him. I also trust UK Neil. UK Neil doesn't play around either. It's always verified information. And when you find people that can verify and they're giving the real shit, that's where you gotta go. Just, you know.
Well, I know that Enoch and I both started in the same areas of the Chan boards, 4chan, 8chan, which is now 8kun. Jim Watkins is fighting the fight for freedom of speech right now, and I think that's amazing. 8kun is a place that you can go to that is truly free speech, but that's where the original digs come from. That's where some of the best researchers and people that can verify news, that's where they started. I started back in the boards. I'm old. I know my kids actually tell me I'm old plus one. I'm almost 40, but I started being a truther back in the days of Prodigy Internet.
You're a baby. I'm going to be 50 in a couple months. You're a baby.
You carry it well, Miss Sandra. I never would have guessed.
Well, thanks.
But,
okay, that's what I want to know. When did you wake up? What happened? Tell me.
Well, I have an odd, a lot of folks that say 9/11. When 9/11 happened, I was actually already in the military, and my unit was just outside Afghanistan, and we were one of the first ones in. And then also, I also did Iraq as well, with Operation Iraqi Freedom. I was on the aviation side of Navy, so I wasn't like tied to a ship all the time. But my truther moment was when I was a kid. I watched Waco happen on TV, right? And what I saw happen on television, and then later on that night, because it was all over the news said something completely different. And I mean, I was young, but I was still old enough to comprehend what was going on, but that just didn't sit right with me. And so I realized that you can't always trust what you're told, which is probably a bad thing for a kid to realize, because then after that I had, butted heads with authority. I was like, well, prove to me that you know what you're talking about type of guy. Folks told me I should have been from Missouri, the show me state, but growing up in the backwoods of West Virginia, I had nothing but time to read and research and just to start digging into things. And, I started to do I hate to use this word because it has such negative connotations in the moniker, but I started to do the whole conspiracy theory thing. I was looking into stuff to fight against the narrative I was being taught as a child. And, something as simple as Christopher Columbus didn't actually make it to the United States. That as a child blew my mind, but I'd go around telling everybody, and people just half the time just told me to shut up. But I ended up finding the boards, and that's where I really honed it and found a community that, for the most part, helped. You sometimes on the chance of the thing about free speech is you got to dig through some of the crap to find that nugget of gold. Yeah. And I, that's really what it comes down to.
And some people are made to where they can handle all that. That's the important part too. I never went to the chans because what I did is I heeded the warning of, listen, it is complete free speech. There's things I don't want in my head. But you know what? That's all right, because there are people that have parts to play. And that's what you Anons did. I'm a server. I'm not an Anon. I'm a server. You guys are the ones that make the bread, right? You do all that stuff. And then what I do is I make sure I bring soft butter and warm bread, and I serve it out all around, right?
And
that's me.
You have to have that sauce. Otherwise, the meat's just bland. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I mean, everyone plays a part, and there are people that can see all that stuff, and God builds us all different. And there's ways he builds people that can handle that stuff. And so what happened is you and Enoch, and there are others that would go through and sift through and get us and bring us them nuggets. And we got to learn. I mean, this is such a community. All right, let me ask you a question. What did you think of Q when he came up? Like when the whole Q thing started. I'm saying he because I'm just doing that.
All right. So I'm probably going to lose a lot of friends right here. When Q first happened, I thought it was a LARP. I thought it was just dumb. And I was like, I immediately dismissed it. And I wasn't there when the first post happened, but I was there within the first week, and I saw it and I made fun of it to my friends. And I was like, this is, people are just stupid. They'll believe anything. And then around the 20th post, I started to think like, okay, there's really something to this. And that's when I started to give it a little bit more credibility. And I ended up drinking the Kool-Aid. And I wholeheartedly believe Q is 100% a true military operation. I have my theories about who Q could be, or at least the voice of Q, and some of them, I also believe there's multiple people that were the voice of Q. But that was it. When it first came out, I just shoved my nose at it like, okay, this is BS. But you have to earn a trust, especially on the boards. They don't just blindly follow or anything, and so in the military, in the Navy, they have a slogan that says, "In God we trust, all others we monitor," and to trust but verify. And so start looking into it, and then as the slogan says, it becomes mathematically impossible to be a coincidence. So
seriously,
don't
that
hate
is
me,
the
folks,
truth.
but I didn't believe it when it first came out. But I'm 100% that Q is real, and best is yet to come, and all the other key slogans you can throw out.
Well, with that, this is a good time. I would like to show you guys a video that Pi did, and it's really freaking awesome. Hold on.
Whatever happened to patriotism? Like, I hear of it, but now people speak about American resolve and patriotism in a whisper, out of fear of retribution, fear of judgment. I grew up in a time when patriotism was revered and respected. But right now, at this time, we have men and women, some of which have not even been charged with a crime, under the full weight of the American justice system. The full weight of the federal government is upon them. It's breaking families. Folks have lost their homes, their jobs, their livelihoods, their respect. Haven't even been charged with a crime. Whatever happened to innocent until proven guilty? Right now we have what boils down to political prisoners sitting in solitary confinement or in federal lockup on pretrial detention. They haven't been convicted, but yet they find behind bars the resolve to still love their country enough to sing the national anthem every day at 9 p.m. Our January 6th inmates. I'm not here to judge. I don't know a lot of their stories. Innocent, guilty, whether they went into the building or not, I don't know. But it seems unright. It seems unfair that they're behind bars for their political beliefs before being convicted without bail. Some of them, men and women, were the sole income for their households, and they've lost their homes, they've lost everything without being convicted. But yet they sing the national anthem every day at 9 p.m. So I'm making this video because I'm asking you to stand with those in lockup and sing the national anthem at 9 p.m. with them. Record the video, put them online, post them everywhere if you want. But if you don't want, just go outside, sing the national anthem or any other patriotic song. Show your love of country. We cannot let American resolve fade away. Don't be afraid to show that you love this great nation that we live. We all have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. A few days ago, I asked some folks that I spoke to online if they would send in a video of them singing the Star Spangled Banner. And I took those videos and had them put together to show unity and solidarity for those that are in lockup, that haven't been convicted, that some haven't even been charged with a crime. Share this, spread this around, and please stand in solidarity with our patriots. And every day at 9 p.m., show your community that American patriotism is still alive. Enjoy the video. God bless you, and God bless this wonderful United States.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we marched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Your favorite American song?
My favorite American song. You know, I would say probably America the Beautiful.
How's
I'm
that
not going
one
to sing
go?
it today. I would do it in Injustice. It's one of those ones that I like though.
Oh,
America's
beautiful
beautiful.
for
Yeah.
spring skies. That one?
Now you're going to get me singing it. Yeah.
Go. I want you to sing. It's your turn.
Oh, beautiful for space, the skies for I can't remember the words completely. I don't have it in front of me.
Ember waves of grain.
Of grain, for purple mountains' majesty above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood. From sea to shining sea. Yeah.
Hey,
Take this video, share it, download it, spread it as far and wide as you want. Use the hashtag #SingForFreedom so that others can find and share what you show for your love of nation. Do not let patriotism and American resolve fade away into the darkness of fear. God bless the United States.
That was awesome. You guys, I'm gonna put that in my Telegram room. That was wonderful. You couldn't hear it, but I made the sound of cheers because that was so good. And again, action. Listen, that's something that, I mean, how'd you come up with that? I am curious.
I was arrested by the FBI for being at the Capitol on the 6th. I didn't enter any buildings. I didn't destroy anything. I didn't attack anybody. I saw police brutality against peaceful protesters. So I did try to stand up in the defense of some of them. For example, I threw my body in between police officers and an elderly man. They were beating him with nightsticks, and he was bleeding from the head as he was laying on the ground. And they beat the living crap out of me. I had my back to the police, and I helped them up off the ground and got them out of there. Tried to, help in any way that I could. I used my voice to voice my derision while I was there, and I videotaped. But back in the end of May, down in Alabama, I was working down there at the time, and as I was walking out to my truck, somebody had in a van had said something like kind of, hey, in my direction. And as I looked towards them, they threw a flashbang grenade at my feet. And I don't exactly remember how many there were, but it was several FBI counterterrorism SWAT team members in full armored gear and fully automatic rifles screaming at me to get down to the ground. I was then arrested. They executed a search warrant on my hotel room and my stuff, and they confiscated all my electronics and a bunch of other items. And I went into federal lockup, federal detainment, whatever you want to call it. They threw me in a cell at a U.S. Marshal's office in Alabama. I was then arraigned and given a criminal complaint with 6 federal charges, some of which are much heavier than just trespassing or parading. I'm actually being accused of assaulting police officers, which is patently false. If you guys watch any of my videos that I've put up about the Capitol, you'll see I didn't attack anyone. I actually, while I was at the Capitol, turned over weapons that we found to the Secret Service and to the Capitol Police, helped in taking pipes away from people, kept screaming, no violence, no violence. But I read these stories and I hear of our patriots that were there, that were arrested. There's been over 500 arrests, I think now. It is the largest prosecution in American history. But when I was arrested, I was awarded bond. No money had to be put down. They just let me go home with federal supervision and different terms that I have to follow. And it breaks my heart to think that there are people sitting in detainment in federal lockup just waiting trial for misdemeanors. And you know, some people are buckling under the weight of the federal government and they're taking pleas. So they're pleading guilty, even though they might not be, whether it be out of fear or whether it be because they just can't do the fight anymore. And the federal government has like a 97% prosecution rate. And I actually think that's part of it. They put their thumb down on them so hard that they just can't bear the weight. And so they're like, okay, I'll plead guilty to something small just to get away from this. And here I sit in my breakfast nook in my house. I get to spend the days with my kids. I mean, I kind of feel guilty about that. And I realize that I'm going to have I still have a pretty heavy burden to lift, but I would rather it be on my shoulders than anyone else. But I found out that they sing the national anthem every day at 9 o'clock, and that moved me to tears. I truly am a patriot. I served. That flag means more to me than I could ever truly put into words. To hear the national anthem, it's hard for me to fight back tears. And I wanted to do something to show solidarity. You know, one of my favorite holidays, other than Pi Day for obvious reasons, is the 4th of July. And one of the saddest days of the year for me is July 5th. And that's because I see everybody just hoorah, patriotism out the wazoo on the 4th. And then on the 5th, they take their flags down and then they continue to talk about how they hate this country and that it's falling apart. And, you know, the patriots are on the 4th, a lot of them are sunshine patriots. They're only there for the good times. And the moment something gets bad, they run away and they talk a bunch of crap.
That's true.
And so I want to see patriotism, like true patriotism, come back. Right now, it's a faux pas. News articles are even calling patriotism hate speech. Like, that blows my mind. What have our soldiers died for? What is our country founded upon? And, you know, the red stripes in that flag are for the blood that's been spilled to keep it safe and to protect their freedoms. And everybody has the freedom of speech. You can say whatever you want, but, you know, I see what's in a person's heart, and that they don't appreciate the sacrifices that have been made. And these men and women that are in lockup can find the resolve to still love the country that is persecuting them for their patriotism, to sing the national anthem together in one unified voice. And I want to see that here, to show them that they're not in this alone, that they're not forgotten. They might be in in DC behind bars of not allowed to see anybody. I mean, Congress isn't even allowed to come in and do oversight. That should be a huge red flag, by the way, folks. Like, open your eyes. So I want to challenge everyone. Get out there. 9 p.m. Stand in solidarity with those that are in lockup for believing the same things that you believe, because you have your freedom. I don't care if you sound like a dying cat when you sing. They probably aren't ready for American Idol either, but it's in here, and that's what matters. Just get out there and show your community that you're not afraid to say you love this nation that you live in. Sing, and everybody can sing. You can post it online if you want. You don't have to. Just go outside, 9 p.m., sing the national anthem, say the Pledge of Allegiance, do America the Beautiful, God bless the USA, whatever it is that you feel comfortable doing. But don't let them be the only ones that still have the gumption to say that they love this nation. And I don't know, maybe some of them are guilty of a crime. We're a law-abiding nation, and we're a party of law and order. So anybody that legitimately committed a crime should be adjudicated fairly. But to go through pre-trial detainment behind bars negates, in my opinion, anything that reflects the idea of innocent until proven guilty. They are guilty and have to prove their innocence, or buckle under the weight and just kowtow to this beast of a system.
Yeah, absolutely. It's there again. We have people, we're sitting here and we're able to talk about it and we're free, but there are people. It's sad because the news doesn't even talk about it. People, it's not even a buzz. It's not even every day people are saying, man, we've got people that they are locked up and they shouldn't be.
If I can interject, I had a guy come to me today. I'm not going to say any names because, we don't do that. But he is obviously a left-leaning individual. And we were talking, and I brought up the fact of my arrest and everything that was going on. And we talked for about an hour. And then went about and did some other stuff. And when we came back to where my truck was at, he just looks at me. He goes, I have to say something. And I said, what's that, bud? He says, I watch CNN all the time about this stuff going on at the Capitol. And I made a joke. I said, well, there's your first problem. But he said, whenever you told me what was going on with you at the Capitol and with the arrest and the feds and everything, he goes, it blows my mind. He goes, why don't you just admit to something small and to get them off your back? And I said, well, that's not going to help anybody, especially not myself. It's like just putting a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. It's not really going to fix it, because if they can do this to our president, or they could do this to the patriots that are behind lockup, or they can do this to me, they're coming after you and other people next. So I would rather, like I said earlier, have this on my shoulders than anybody else have to deal with it. And I'm stubborn, so I got thick skin, and I honestly think that God has me here for a reason, and I plan to see it through. And he says, but the reason it blows my mind is because the news portrays you guys and people that were there as extremists, racists, white supremacists, just hateful. They're zealots and freak out. And he goes, I talked to you for a good hour about, I lean left. I have liberal beliefs. And he goes, and you didn't even bat an eye. You accepted it and didn't show me no judgment, nothing. And I said, that's because you're being lied to. The news is lying to you because they want us to look bad. They have a narrative to push. We're just regular people. I'm a family man. I got 4 kids, a wife. I lost my job because of this stuff going on with the FBI. And by the grace of God alone, I was able to get another one after, a couple months of absolutely no income. I got a mortgage and bills like everybody else. We want nothing more than the freedom to have the ability to provide for our families and maybe go fishing every now and then, or whatever it is that people enjoy. I like to be able to go buy some paint from Walmart and paint a landscape on a canvas. That's how I get my stress to go away. But we don't have those freedoms anymore, and they're taking them away bit by bit. And now to have just what we would normally would consider American values, that makes us hateful, bigoted, just the scum of the earth. They're turning this world upside down. And he was just blown away by the fact that, just my example of not being judgmental because he believes, things that I don't believe. And, I don't judge anybody. I don't care.
That's the difference. It's like, I just actually, this past week, I had a friend and she's like, why are you so, she's saying to me, why are you so hateful? You're so angry. I don't know why you're so angry. And I'm sitting here, first of all, I'm sick as shit. So I don't even have the energy to be angry. But I'm like, I'm really not angry. I am factual. I go to the facts. She's like, I can't believe you're not vaccinated. I'm never going to see you again. And I'm like, well, if you're vaccinated, what are you worried about? Because, and that question continued to be ignored. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, why is she saying to me I'm so angry? I ain't got patience. I have to be honest. I don't have patience. I'm like, this is how it is. It's not that I'm angry. It's just that there's no more time for bullshit. I mean, we have, and this is for real, I think. We're at a point, we're at a precipice of life, right? Like, we're in such a spiritual warfare. And this is, for the past 20 years, I'm going to say they ramp shit up in the sense of, and I'm going to use cigarettes as an example because I see you smoke and I'm like, I wish I could smell it, and I'm like, no, I love it. I totally love it, dude. But this is important because they have taken cigarettes. This is what I think. They've taken cigarettes and they've used it against us. It's a manipulation tool. And what I mean by that is, when I worked in the restaurant and I had my smoking section, I made so much more money in the smoking section than I did the non-smoking because smokers are fucking cool. They're laid back. They don't have a stick up their ass. The non-smokers over there, they're all like, oh my God, I'm going to get secondhand smoke cancer, and they believe all the hype, right? And sit here and judge the smokers. So what do? Oh, no more smoking in restaurants. They fucking punched the gut into all the bars everywhere throughout the entire country. The bars got a punch in the gut. The servers got punches in the gut. I mean, and I don't care. I know young people still go out, but there's no business like there was business when we could smoke in the bar. And I don't care if you were a smoker or not. You didn't give a fuck because you're going in the bar to have a good time, right? But they use the smoke screen. They just use the smoke screen of health. Oh, this is better for you, so let's pull it. And my thing was, and no one wanted to listen to me because I smoked cigarettes. They're like, well, you smoke. And I'm like, it's not about the smoking. It's about the fact that they're taking they're taking a right away from us. It is our right. And every single right that they're going to take, it's going to be in the name of fucking health or what's best for us. Who the fuck are they to tell me I should wear a seatbelt? Are you paying for my car? No. Oh, wait, I got to pay insurance because it's a law. I have to have insurance. So they just keep fucking ripping us of all of our rights in the name of what's best for us. And people fucking buy that shit. Stop buying that shit. Make your own decision. Everyone is responsible for themselves. If you want to wear a fucking seatbelt, wear it. But I shouldn't get a ticket because I'm not. And my car should not fucking beep if I don't have it in. That's some bullshit. I'm just saying.
The beeping is so annoying.
So annoying.
When it comes to cigarettes, I mean, yeah, I smoke way too much. I wish I didn't smoke as much as I did, but I'll be real honest. I'm not as nice if I don't, but that's because of the dissonance that you feel from not having one. But
Yeah.
You are right, they're taking away your right to choose. And one thing that really gets me is I don't smoke right now, especially because I'm under federal supervision, but I used to smoke weed back in the day, and all that is a flower. You know how many people have gone to jail over a flower? Like,
Yeah.
it blows my mind. Or You can't say anything without offending somebody, and if somebody gets offended, you're told you have to be quiet, or otherwise you're going to offend somebody. And I always think to them like, okay, but that offends me. You know, I'm a Christian. My Christian beliefs, I can't bring them up because you might offend somebody, but they're going to teach my kids in school about every other religion except for mine. That offends me. You know, I'm a male. Apparently that's offensive to everybody. That offends me. That they don't understand. Well, maybe they do understand. I actually think it's design. We're under attack. This isn't just by chance that they go after it. Now, everybody might not remember this, but you know, the doctors used to prescribe you cigarettes for your health. They used to give them to pregnant women for their health. Science apparently isn't very scientific because it keeps changing with culture and society, but then you get yelled at, well, you need to follow the science if you bring up a question, which is, by the way, the basis of science is to be skeptical and question everything. You know, use your heads, folks.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Enoch, I totally would like some brownies. I mean, honestly, like a brownie. I'll pay for the postage. Huh?
You need to put a disclaimer on the screen. Caution.
Caution. Caution. You know, I mean, that's the thing. People are... I don't watch TV anymore. I watch a movie. When I go to bed, I like to watch a movie, and it's usually a comedy because I do, when I'm on a regular day, I do spend a lot of time reading news. Like, I just reading, listening to podcasts, this and that. At night, I just want a comedy to just chill. But what they have done, like, because, you know, my husband, he's been sick, so he's been home. He watches TV. So the commercial for Family Feud, I said to him today, I just can't even believe, in the commercial, they just keep talking about everyone's answers being very sexual. Oh, porn. And I'm like, I said to Michael, I'm like, this is Family Feud. And the promotion is all these different actors and actresses pushing porn. And I'm like, you know, it's propaganda. There's just, right? I just feel like anything that's on there it's everywhere. And there are people that are infiltrated that have spent a lot of years developing relationships within our community. And, you know, you guys, you have to be willing. I mean, truth. You should want truth. And we're going to find out there are people that we opened our hearts to. And guess what? They're infiltrators. They did a good job. Don't be mad at yourself. Don't spend a lot of time being pissed off at yourself. Don't be mad, and don't start closing off to everyone else because they did a good job. Because infiltration isn't, hey, I'm a wolf hanging out where I don't belong. Like, you guys got to understand. Like, infiltration is you were fooled because they were good at what they did. So just learn from it and keep it moving. But you guys, those that are pushing the violence, I think that it's important that we pay attention. Who's saying come together and then who's saying let's just meet up or let's do these different things that doesn't require aggression? We don't have to be aggressive. The thing is there's more of us than there are of them. We just have to peacefully, lovingly stand for ourselves and our families. And then that just will, you know, continue on. And when everyone sees how many there are of us, stop being afraid to go too. Stop that bullshit. I'm sorry, I just gotta say it. It's bullshit. If there was something close by me, I would love for my whole family. And living in fear is not gonna work, because then you're letting them win. And we're responsible for that fear vibration. I'm just saying. Go ahead, Pi.
Absolutely.
You gotta say something.
So, about this right here, what you're saying, God wins, right? We all know this. God has actually already won, and he doesn't call us to fight. We don't need to fight. Truth stands on its own, and he's already won it. We just need to stand. We don't need to fight. We just need to stand. and stand our ground. And you want to talk about propaganda? If folks don't know, look up Edward Bernays. He is the father of propaganda, right? Everybody sees bacon and eggs as America's breakfast. You ever wonder why? Edward Bernays. He coined bacon and eggs as America's breakfast for the war effort. You know, and that he used emotion. That's Edward Bernays' tactics, is to put emotion forward to get your point across, because it hits your feels, it hits harder. You know, if I go to sell you a shoe, you don't care that there's, you know, double cross stitching in the sole and it's pressed leather and it's, you know, all of these facts about it. You say, wow, those make you look classy and those are good.
You're muted. I can't hear you. We can't hear you. You're still muted.
Oh, I said, sorry, my son was asking me a question, but
He understood.
But,
We're
you
all
know,
parents.
it's like emotions. They push emotions, and that's the Democrats and the leftist playbook. They hit your emotions. They don't have any facts to back up their truth. That should be a huge red flag. If you try to speak logically to somebody and they immediately go emotional, then it's propaganda, bottom line. And whenever you can tell when somebody has done nothing but been fed propaganda, because they cannot reason, they have no logic. And this is actually one thing about Q that really kind of opened my eyes, is it was all facts, right? But it was facts put in the form of questions. He used the Socratic method. So he'd ask you a question and then you go find the answer. And then you find an answer that just blows your mind. You're like, wow, this is insane. Mm-hmm. And I think one point of Q, not the main point, but one point of Q was to get the Anons off of the board, to get them to go out and to start doing digs in public. Because before then, they would do their digs and it'd be quiet, and it was, you know, kind of out in the fringe of, you know, away from everybody, because they weren't accepted. But once more and more Anons got off of the board and they started showing people that we call normies what is actually going on with facts, and breaking through and chipping away at that wall of emotional cognitive dissonance, then people started to realize that they're being lied to, and that causes them to want to look into things and dig more. And so the Anons ended up creating, you know, more people that can dig. And, you know, they're called autists because we can be somewhat autistic about really wanting to just delve into something. That's one reason I have the moniker of Pi. I became a little autistic for the Pi number for quite some time, and I memorized the first 200 digits. You know, give me a couple of drinks in me at a party, I'll rattle them all off for you, because why? I'm a nerd, you know? And the thing
Nerds
that is good about
sexy.
the news class,
Just FYI, and I want you to, I just want to let all the guys out there know that we are raising our girls that nerds are sexy. And we even, like, you know how there's, and this could go for chicks too, but we don't really check out the chicks, but nerd is very sexy. And we also have, me and my girls came up with a new thing, a FOD. And a FOD is a fine ass ugly dude, because there are ugly dudes that are fine. And what makes them fine is their brain and their swagger. See, what's happening, I think the pendulum has swung, because like when I was growing up, it wasn't cool to like a nerd. You know, girls were like, oh, the bad boys. My girls are like, oh, look at that FOD. And you know, they're not really ugly, but they're not fine, like, you know. But it's, girls are coming back to what's important. I guess that's what I'm saying, is we're bringing it back, because you said you're a nerd, and this is why, yes, you are a total nerd, Enoch. He is. And you know what? It's attractive, because the brain, when you actually see people, and I'm sure you guys feel the same way, when you can find a woman or a chick that you can have a conversation with, she can be fucking ugly, and all of a sudden, you know, just the brain, like the comprehension is sexy. Do you guys hear that? I don't care if you've been divorced 5 times. If you could read something and comprehend it, that is sexy. No more duh. No more being stupid.
Yeah, get off of Facebook and put your face in a book. Like, actually read. I have to take your word on it on the FODs, because, you know, I don't swing that way. I'm happily
Yes.
married, and my lovely wife is very, very female. And
Yes.
the nerd is sexy. You know, my wife and I have some very deep conversations,
Yeah.
and that's what I love about her. You know, is I can pick her brain, and she can pick mine, which I'd have to say she's probably a lot smarter than me. I married up, but
That's awesome.
I agree. You know, it's not the outward anyway. It's what's inward. It's what's inside a person. Because a girl can be fine as, you know, considered like on the front page of a magazine type of sexy. And then the moment she opens her mouth and you watch a cow patty fall out, you're just like, oh man, that's you're ugly.
Yeah,
You know,
it's true. Same thing with a dude, and that's what I'm saying. Mary Kay said, back to basics. I mean, it really is true. Back to the things that really matter, because everyone is waking up. I mean, the propaganda is everywhere. And, you know, I've never heard that name before tonight. Airheads are ugly. They are. And I gotta tell you, yes. I mean, airheads on both sides. Like a dude that, okay, while we're doing public service announcements, let me just do this one too. You guys that are out there and you're working out and you're getting your arms all tight and your chest is all big and you're looking all good, can you guys please fucking do your legs? Because you look ridiculous. I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing ever. So be fair. Have them match. It's really much more attractive when your legs match your upper body. So just stay away from the steroids because they don't really, not so good. So I'm just saying,
They make your muscles big, but they make what matters small anyway. Steroids are bad. Stay off of steroids, kids.
Yeah. Stay off them and get healthy like your full body. This is a time. Listen, this is the time. In this spiritual warfare, I pray. I mean, I see God doing things, man. God is moving. Things are really, really happening. And, Enoch always says, no bullshit, just news. And, if you guys actually get rid of the bullshit, and I mean that in your personal lives too. Like, you don't have to be a part of the BS. You could just be a part of the patriotism, the being involved. You don't have to get into the drama. It's a choice. So I just pray that everybody is making good choices. Verified news. Yeah, that's Enoch. Totally. I'm sorry to keep saying, but Enoch is how we met. Well, actually, President Trump, that's why he's with us right here, because he's the one that got me going here. And I love him. And I also feel like, I don't idolize him, but I absolutely, real news, no bullshit. Thank you, Enoch. I absolutely recognize the part that President Trump is playing. And everybody that loves all these characters in the Bible, well, President Trump is one of those characters that would be in the Bible. If, which I think our Q part, I think Q, everyone could say I'm crazy, but I think the whole Q movement, it is along the side, for me, I believe our Constitution is godly, and that's why they're after it. I believe that it's completely God-inspired. That's what God wanted for this country, 100%. And I believe the Q movement is biblical times. Like it would be in the Bible. When this all gets written, and he said, take notes, archive, because they told us this is a part of our history. I believe this is going right in there because God is so involved. This is such a God thing. What do you think? Do you think I'm nuts? Oh,
I don't think you're nuts. I don't think you're nuts at all. If I could give a quick shout out to my boy Enoch, I love him to death. Anytime somebody tells you, well, there's nothing happening, pull up his news blast, because every single day there's a full sheet of verified headlines of what the heck is happening. Mm-hmm. There's stuff happening. The problem is people can't pull their head out of their nether regions long enough to get out of CNN and Fox and all the talking heads on TV to actually find out for themselves.
You're being so sweet.
To what people are telling to you.
No.
Look for yourself.
Pie. No, it's not just the left. It's us too. You've got people
Absolutely.
that are still listening, and that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to go where you know. Enoch is solid. Period. There's no other. It's solid. It is 100%. People are wasting
And if you don't
time.
believe it, if you don't think Enoch's solid, research it yourself. Pick up a
Yeah.
book. Look it into the magazine, into the articles and the government documents yourself.
Yeah.
Find that, because you're going to see that it's true. It's verified, 100%.
Yeah.
You know, and I have to say, Enoch is actually the reason that I showed my face for the first time. I was on the boards. Hugh kind of got me involved into researching that aspect of things, but I still stayed on the boards, or I still, stayed on my own. I didn't publicize anything on my Facebook because that's where my kids' teachers were. And, I was worried about my public image and remaining anonymous. And after Enoch did his Take the Oath campaign, I brought it to God and I said, what is it that I'm supposed to do here? Because I felt moved by it. And I took that oath. I took that oath in the military, and I swear by it. I always have. And so whenever he did his Take the Oath campaign, I said, you know what? And I listened to what God told me in my heart, and I did it. And that was the first time I ever showed my face. I'm always an Anon, but at that point I was no longer anonymous.
Right.
And I put it all out in front. And I said, now is not the time to be quiet. Now is the time that we need to speak up. We need to say something, because I was hearing everybody that I love around me feeding into the bullshit. And that I couldn't take it anymore, because my own family looked at me like I was a nut job. And then 6 months down the road, they would come running to me and be like, oh, did you hear that this happened? I'm like, yes, I told you this 6 months ago. That's why you didn't come to Thanksgiving. You remember? And that's, those sorts of things. And like Trump says, the only difference between a conspiracy theory is about 6 to 12 months now.
It's true. It's so
Look
true.
it up for yourself.
And guess what? We're taking everything back. You had mentioned that in the beginning. It's true. You're like, oh, I don't give a fuck anymore. I'll be honest with you. I'm a conspiracy theorist. Because you know what? What that says to me, first of all, I'm taking it back. I think it's cool. I love being a conspiracy theorist, because that means my mind is expanded and open to learn whatever the fuck it is I'm going to learn. And it's going to be opposite of what they've tried to teach us. But the thing is we're taking it back. They don't have this anymore. We are turning it around on them. We're okay. God wins. That means we win. We are winning. And winners take their shit back. Okay? We're not crying like little bitches. Like, no. These things are ours. And you know what? As an American, we have something so special. And it shows how spoiled we are, because you've got all these countries that are protesting and not us, in the sense that they're standing up against their government and they don't even have freedom with all of this vaccines. And we have not moved yet. Our country has not yet moved. In fact,
But that's good. That's good. I know that sounds weird because people don't want to hear that, but in those countries, they're being met with violence and force, and they're being demonized. We don't want to go out there and cause, we don't want to give them, when I say them, I mean our opposition, people that oppose our way of thinking. We don't want to give them the chance to demonize us. Truth stands alone. We don't have to fight. God has already won. And I think that when Q says that it'll be biblical, is because there's going to be some things that happen that we as believers will notice from the Bible, from maybe Revelations or Daniel or Ezekiel. I mean, my personal opinion, and I'm not going to be dogmatic or super pushy about any of this. I believe that we're about to witness Ezekiel 38 and 39. There's the first time in history, Turkey, Iran, Russia, and China are becoming allies, right? For the longest time, Russia was staunchly anti-Islam, but now they are allies with Iran. They have trade and weapons deals, etc. And in the Bible, it mentions nations in Ezekiel 38 and 39, some of them by their historic geographic location. So you have to, do some research. But all of those nations are seen in the quote unquote end times as coming together as allies and coming against Israel, right? And now, let me put in a caveat. When I say end times, I don't mean like, the world's going to end in the next 10 years. I believe that we started the quote unquote end times when the Balfour Declaration happened and Israel became a nation in a single day. I think that was the beginning of the timeline of the end. It could be another 100 years from now because we're on God's timeline, but he wins. But I see things happening in the foreign military movements and everything we are going to end up witnessing, and I think it's going to happen in my lifetime, God willing that I live long enough, of Ezekiel 38 and 39. So if you're going to pick up a book, pick up that book, folks. Take a look at it.
Can I
You're
add
going to see
to
it right in front of you.
Can I add to what you're saying? I believe, like they, just as they've infiltrated everything, they've infiltrated the teaching of Revelation. And I think that we're about to move into 1,000 years of peace. We're about to move to his kingdom on earth as it is in heaven for the next 1,000 years. And that's why this battle is so huge. That's why this is biblical. To me, this is so biblical, and when you look at the spiritual aspect of it, just for, and the stars, I'm not talking about astrology, I'm talking about astronomy. And God does talk to us through the stars. And if you follow the stars of what's happening in August and September, the stars, I'm not talking about anything else. I'm not talking about people and their words. I'm just talking about the sky and how it's talking to us. And God is communicating. So I absolutely, and that's why this is so biblical. This is like, we were chosen. I mean, we are so freaking lucky. Like, we're chosen this time. And I agree with you. It is in our lifetime.
God has us here for a reason. And that 1,000 years of peace is going to be after, for the people that are Christian and believe that, it's as after Christ returns. And that's very well could happen, at any time. Nobody knows when.
But I think what's getting pulled up, it's deception that's getting pulled out, not the believers. I mean, it doesn't even make sense. If anyone would really think about who God is, he's not a God of chaos at all. And or confusion. We're not going to be like, what's going to happen is deception. All of the spells, all of the demons, all that stuff is getting pulled and locked away, and he chose us, and because he does care about our lineage, our bloodlines. He has it in the Bible. The bloodlines are important. Why would he have it be so important? Then all of a sudden he takes us out of here and the bloodlines are cut off and done. It doesn't make sense. Not because he cares about the bloodlines. He cares about government. God cares about all this stuff, the military. Look at all the things that he's done. And he always strips it down to the bare minimum. He doesn't need many. He just needs mighty. Right? And that's, like the 144,000, I think the whole Q movement, I think we are the ones that's talking about, because we're the ones that have the eyes to see it. We can see what's going on. There are people that can see the same exact thing we're seeing and not, because their scales have not been removed. I mean, this is like, we have such a beautiful responsibility. It's,
There are a lot of different interpretations for a lot of different things. And I don't want to get dogmatic into too much of it, because
it's
quite
just
frankly,
exciting.
I don't know. From my understanding,
none of us do.
My understanding of the 144,000 is that they are, the Jewish that see Christ as the Messiah upon his return. But I don't know. I don't know enough about any of it. I actually have a ministry channel that I do. I minister at a few different churches, and I still learn every single day. I try to keep my nose in the Bible to learn as much as I can, and I go where God directs me. But I don't ever want to judge anybody simply because they believe differently than I do. I can't judge anybody because they sin differently than I do. That's not what we're here for. We're not here to judge, right? That's his job. We're here to stand. and to give our testimony and to profess what he's done in our lives, right? Some of the most powerful sermons that I've ever witnessed or heard, or if folks have come up and told me like, wow, that really moved me. And all I did was tell them what God has done in my life. You know, I used to be an addict. I went to prison. Like, I'm not, on paper, I am a piece of poo. But God pulled me out of that mud, dusted me off, and said, "You done fooling around now? Let's go and let's walk together." And of course, like everybody else, I've run off on my own a little bit for a while, and then I come right back to him begging like, "Oh man, I really messed that one up. I'm glad you're still here for me." You know, and that's all we can do. He never asked for perfection, just progress. It's about a relationship with your creator, however you witness it or however you feel it. That's it, you know? And when it comes to Q saying this is biblical, I wholeheartedly believe that those that have the eyes to see, they are going to see God working in this movement and in the people in this movement, and those that have been guided throughout this movement, whether they know it or not. And it is going to be biblical. Our grandkids are going to look back and be like, wow, this is the part of the Bible, and you were alive in that time, grandpa or grandma. What was that like? And you're going to say, well, this is what happened, and I was a survivor of the meme wars of 2020. And you know, that's
and you're gonna be like, I was an Anon. You're gonna be like, not only was I in Iraq and Iran, but I was also an Anon. You know, you're a life changer. Straight Anons are life changers, because you guys are the ones that are going in and you're digging, you know, and you're doing it not just for yourself, but for your country. Not just for your country, but really for the world when you really consider it.
You know, when Christ was standing in front of Pontius Pilate, this is actually my least favorite part of the Bible, because I get so mad every time I read it. It says in the Bible that Pilate asked Christ what I consider the most important question that a man could ever have asked the Messiah and God. He says, "What is truth?" And the reason I get so mad about it is that once he asked the question, he turned around and walked away. He didn't wait for the answer. He says, "What is truth?" and then leaves. Like, and that's what we're fighting for today. We want to fight to find the truth, because truth stands on its own, right? We don't have to defend it. We don't have to do anything for it to be able to be truth. It is truth. And when you present it, it stands there on its own, and people have to look it straight in the eyes and either accept it, deny it, or verify it, right? Be a doubting Thomas. Put your finger in the hole. But it's truth. Simple as that. You know, it's so the news spits out some garbage and you're like, well, this doesn't seem right, but I'm going to accept it anyway. That's lazy and you're weak. Pull your head out your butt and go look it up yourself. Stop believing what everybody tells you. Don't believe a thing I say. Don't. Look it up for yourself. I don't have to defend myself because I speak truth. And that's what anybody else with a merit of salt in their own responsibility or their own character, the moment they start getting upset, that shows weakness. If you're speaking truth, then just speak it, and it'll be out there in the universe for everyone else to either accept it or deny it. But look it up. Look it up. Like Enoch says on his news blast, real news, no bullshit, because it's verified. And if you don't think so, look it up yourself. Find out for yourself, and then you're going to realize it was verified. You know, the same thing with my personal faith. I believe that the Bible is truth. If you don't believe it, look it up.
Yeah. And ask God to give you the eyes to see, because he will. If, you know,
God isn't some old man in the clouds shaking his finger at you saying, stop doing that or I'll freaking spank you. Like, he's the creator of the universe. One of my favorite philosophers, and anybody can argue with me about this, whatever, but is Thomas Aquinas. He wrote a book called the Summa, and he has the 5 ways. And he described God by saying that he is the unmovable mover, right? So if you have a ball and you set it on a table, it's not going to go anywhere until some outside force moves it, right? So if you think all the way back to the beginning of time, of everything that moved, of cause and effect, and moved this and moved that, and the mover of this and the mover of that, the first thing to put something into motion has to be unmovable, right? Otherwise, something would have put that into motion. So what we understand to be God is the unmovable mover, right? And time is not infinite. It has a beginning and it has an end, because if it was infinite, then it would have taken an infinite amount of time for us to get to this point in time, and therefore we wouldn't exist. So what we understand to be God is timeless, eternal, right? And unable to be moved. He's the first mover of all things. You don't have to go to a building to find it out. It's already in here and you already know it. Even if you want to deny what I'm saying, there's a little voice in the back of your head saying, you know what, there sounds a little bit like a little bit of truth. And then the truth will stand on its own. But that's what we understand to be God. And people want to, I don't want to say the word demonize it, but they always try to characterize it as some, figure that's shaking their finger at you. If you don't follow this rule book, you're going to go burn in hell. And that's not it. That's not it at all. That's the message that Christ tried to give the Pharisees, that they were, turning the relationship that God wanted with his creation into some rule book. If you have to do this and you have to do that, or we're going to stone you to death. Mm-hmm. And he came in there and was like, hey, y'all got this mixed up. We just want a relationship. That's it. It's not perfection, it's progress. But that's what we're fighting for today, is to help keep truth alive,
Yes, I just want to add...
Truth is the first casualty of war. Sorry.
Yes. No. I just want to add to it because it's important for me just to say all you have to do is come as you are. God doesn't expect you to change who you are and then come to him. He already knows who you are. I try to say that to people all the time. He knows us. It's the best relationship you can have. You don't have to work at it. He doesn't have to get to know you. He already knows you. And he's the one that changes you from the inside out. He will convict you to the point that you don't want to do that anymore. Not that you're not doing it because you want to go to God. That's not how it works. All he wants you to do is just come to him. He just abide in him, chill with him, be with him. He's amazing. And that's how you begin to have the eyes to see what he's doing. So anyone that's listening that doesn't know who God is, it's the best freaking relationship you can have, because he already knows you and he loves you. It's automatic. It's like meeting that person where you have that kinship, this family ship.
We call God Father, right? And I'm a dad. I told you earlier I have 4 kids. I love my kids. I correct them when they're wrong. I discipline them when they disobey. And that's the same relationship that God the Father has. But I still love them, right? Because folks will be like, well, how come God let this happen in my life? First of all, God cherishes you personally, just as you are. You could be an addict, you could be a drunk, you could be whatever. We all sin in different ways, right? Mm-hmm. But he loves you still the same. I love my kids, even when they're cutting holes in my carpet. I love my wife. God bless her. She has the patience of a saint. My son one day got mad and took a razor blade to her wedding dress. Oh. Yeah. She still loved him. She disciplined him, and smoke came out of her ears. So I was a little scared for him at the moment, but she still loved him. She still loves him. Like, there's nothing that any of my children can do that would stop that, right? And God, if I can do this as a sinner myself, if I can do that, then how much more can God love us? He loves you just the way you are, personally, by name. He knew you before you were ever even put into the womb. He loves you. He wants a relationship. It doesn't mean you have to go to a building. Doesn't mean you have to do some ritual where you're on your knees and closing your eyes and holding your hands a certain way. Like, people think I'm nuts because I talk to God driving down the street. Some people probably think I'm cussing at them because they drive like idiots, which, half the time they do. But I'm not. I'm talking to God. What is it that I'm going to be doing today? Give me guidance, give me protection, help out, look out for my family. I pray for my Anon friends. Folks that we talk to online, they tell us the struggles that that are going on in their lives. Prayer helps. Prayer and dank memes are really the only weapons that we need in this war. To keep truth alive, you have to find the truth within yourself and let it stand alone.
Amen. You just nailed that. It's the truth. I do want to say, like you guys, we do have to acknowledge our sin to God. We have to acknowledge it. That's repenting, all that. But I do want, like, I really believe there's no way he turns his back on us in the midst of ever. So, I mean, there's times that I have put myself in a timeout away from my kids in order for me not to abuse them and you know, beat the crap out of them, because I don't want to do it in anger. But it's a very real thing. And the thing is God doesn't want you to be focused on your sin. He wants you to be focused on his love, his mercy, his grace, his forgiveness. And when you can accept that for yourself, it then makes it to where, like, and I mean, like, accept that God does that for you. That then in turn gives you the ability to do it for others. But anyway, Pi, I know you got a family, man, and they're dying. I'm sure they're dying. I'm so sorry.
One thing,
Yeah.
everybody messes up, right?
All the
God
time.
loves you all the way through it.
All the
But the
way.
real trick that people don't understand is that if you realize that you've been doing something wrong, that is God working within you, right? He speaks to your heart like, hey, I don't want you to be doing this. But he's already forgiven you. Already. Christ
Already.
died on the cross for your sins. It's done. Forgive yourself. Repent, right? And what repent means is just to turn away from what you know is wrong. That's it. Just forgive yourself. Stop doing it. If you mess up, keep doing it. Well, keep realizing that it's wrong and keep working at it. That's all he wants. A relationship, talk to him, realize that you need to walk away just to better yourself, right? Because you're already forgiven. So forgive yourself and stop beating yourself up.
And listen, take the correction. You know what I'm saying? Like, be a freaking man or woman, whatever, you know, but take it. It doesn't have to really like cut you to your core when God shows you things about yourself that isn't beautiful. It doesn't have to be like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. No, it just has to be like, all right, God, so how are we gonna fix this? And you have a part to play. There's still a part to play in God changing it, because God could actually change it, and if you don't see it or you don't want it, then it's not changed. That's where your faith comes in. But we have a responsibility. But God, man, he just loves us. He just loves us so much that he's allowed us to even find each other over airwaves. I mean, how freaking awesome is that too? You know?
Right. Mass communication worldwide. Getting past the boundaries of language and everything else. And it's to spread glorifying him, right? That's what he wants. But people use it for bad things too, and that's their choice. That's the great thing about free will. So, you know, with great power comes great responsibility.
It's true.
Womp,
It's
womp.
really true. And I will just say this for all you judgy people out there, like if you got problems with peeps, instead of talking shit on people and stuff like that, pray about it. Take it to God. What would God have? And then what happens is you're not feeding that negativity anymore. Because remember, we are in a spiritual warfare and we do have a responsibility, you know, but like dropping the F-bomb is not like the end all. So I wish people would just lighten up on that. You know what I'm saying? Take it to
Yeah,
God. Yeah. And
I don't fit into the box, right? I don't fit into the box most people think a minister falls into. And I don't, because I'm also not going to lie to people, right? I drop the F-bomb. You've seen me in chat. I bulldog on somebody real quick. Like I will tell them to pull their head out their ass and read a fucking book. But I do it out of love.
It's out
right?
of love.
Because I'm trying to correct the fact that they are disrupting and hurting other people. You know, and one thing you learn about war is it ain't pretty, but it's necessary, right?
Yeah.
And right now we're in a war of information and a war of ideas. You know, we don't have a rifle in our hands running on the front lines anymore. You got to fight. Sometimes people need tough love.
Yes.
And anybody that I've gone crazy on in chat because, you know, they are trying to disrupt things, I do it out of love. You want to hit me up in DM, I joke with people and I laugh with them, but I'm not going to tolerate them hurting others that I care for. You know, if somebody tries to hurt one of my family members, I'm not going to just stand idly by and watch them get hurt.
Yeah,
but if I have the chance to meet that person afterwards, after I'm done defending my family, I'm going to speak to them in the same loving manner that I speak to anybody else, because they're human. You know, it's a novel concept people can't wrap their heads around, but we should be humane to humans. We all falter. I used to be banging freaking speedballs. I was doing drugs left and right and drinking myself into the grave. You know, back right when I got out of the service, a 30-pack of beer and a fifth of tequila used to be a typical Tuesday. But
Wow.
I'm not there anymore because I grew past that, you know, and I was not a good person. I would have robbed my mom to go buy more dope and then come back and ask her if I could get some cash. Hey, can I borrow some money? You know, like,
Yeah.
but
It's
we
real.
can move on. Yeah, I'm being honest.
Mhm.
Love me, hate me. I'm just being honest. But I've moved forward from that. You know, I went to college, I got a degree, I got a family, I own a house. I can't say I haven't been to jail in a while because the feds changed that one. But up until then, I hadn't been to jail in a really long time. You know, I'm not banging dope no more, none of that. And just for anybody that's fighting with addiction, I used to sit in the shower sick as a dog, dope sick all the time. It was a miserable life. And then I gave it to Christ and I said, just help me. I can't do this. And I thought that I was the shit. And then I realized I was just a big piece of it, right? I gave it to him and I said, help. I don't know what else to do. I was actually sitting in a jail in Ohio at the moment, puking all over myself in the jail shower. And I said, I need help. And immediately I felt something change, but I didn't know what. And then after that, I was no longer dope sick. I went to bed that night and I woke up in the morning. I was no longer dope sick. I never had no issues whatsoever. And I even relapsed 3 separate times when I first got out of prison. And I felt so stinking guilty when it happened. But even after my relapses, I never got dope sick again. I never had the fear of like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be dope sick, so I need to go get my next fix. He took that away from me. And I honestly see that as a miracle. He took that burden of fear that I can't do it away. And then I just, on my own, because I have free will, he stood there with me the whole time, but I worked my way towards him and to the better life in which I have now, right? So all those people that want to dig into my past because the DOJ doxed me and put all my information out there, by the way, whoever's sending death threats to my house, I don't care. I line my birdcage with them. That's a unifying finger. At least that's what I'm told.
Can I wait? I just got to do a cheer.
But I've made it a better life for myself. I made a better life for my family. And my kids, they grow up and they've never gone without. And it's because I gave myself over to him and said, I can't do it no more. I was steering the car and just kept wrecking left and right. And then I finally said, Jesus, take the wheel, not to sound cliche. And he got me to where I need to be. And apparently where I need to be right now is dealing in the things that I'm dealing with. And it's rough. It's tough. I sit there in despair sometimes and I pray like, what the hell am I going to do? But then I realized that gold, right? Something as extremely valuable as gold is extremely impure when you pull it up out of the ground. It's got all kinds of crap and stuff in it that nobody really wants. It's completely useless and worthless, but it's refined by putting it through fire. And I am, to God, I am much more valuable than a cheap rock of gold. Keep that in mind, folks. It might be tough, but that's because you're being refined. And I really appreciate you having me on.
You know what? I thought that was my mic drop. I got to fix it. You know, we do need a mic drop. Pi, I mean, your whole testimony is a mic drop. And, you know, we all have our part to play. I can't remember, and it'll come to me in a minute, but just like I really had a great life, you know? And yes, there are people that, what is in Pi's pockets, and is Sandra wearing pants? Okay, Pi, what's in your pockets? I love you, Enoch.
Oh, that's E. My boy E hit me up with what's in my pockets. Well, I got a pen, a napkin, which actually has a note from my wife. My wife puts in my lunch, and it says, "If April showers bring Mayflowers, what do Mayflowers bring? Pilgrims." Wah wah wah. She puts a loving note or a joke or something in my lunchbox every day for work.
That's sweet.
But that's all I have in my pockets at the moment.
Okay, am I wearing pants?
The lady
Yes.
never tells.
No, I am wearing pants, but I will tell you this. I am so hot over here, and I've got my air conditioner on and my fan, but I have my pants, they're like pulled up over my knees. because I'm sitting here burning up as we're talking. I'm like, I'm so hot. That is really, your wife, that's good. I gotta do shit like that. I used to. I used to be like, I was actually thinking today, like, what a nice wife I used to be, and not so much anymore. And I think there's things I have to bring back. I don't know why I lost that love and feeling, but I think I'm gonna bring back that love and feeling. And there's things that, like, to the wifeys, there's things that what that means. Scratching the back, being nice, like, not for anything, but just a little touch, a little, not necessarily sexual, but just letting him know. We don't want our men to feel like, they're just sex slaves. We need to give them more of that. Do you agree, Pi?
I mean, I don't know. I kind of enjoy feeling like a sex slave sometimes.
But don't you also like to be loved?
I do, and love and affection, it's those intimate moments that people share together that make the relationship,
Bring it back.
Otherwise you're just rude. Right.
Yeah,
Bring it back.
Bring it back. This
You ain't
is
got to
our
go
time.
full 50 Shades of Grey. You don't have to go full 50 Shades of Grey. Just show somebody appreciation. And that's what love is about. Love is an action. It's a verb, right? It's not just a word anymore.
He did save the note. He did, right? It's true. You saved the note. That's cool. So
I save them all.
You save
If you
them
go to my
all?
bookshelf and people will pull out, every note that she's ever given me, also my kids, every note they've ever given me, every little scribbled drawing, it's, look, Daddy, it's a fish. And I'm like, nah, it looks like you just went like this with a pen 7 times. But I have a bookshelf, a rather big bookshelf upstairs by my room. And in between the books, sometimes in the books, I keep them. And then one day I'll be pleasantly surprised. I'll pull out a book looking for something, and then a note will fall out. And I'll say, oh, what's this? And I pull it up, and it's a picture that my daughter drew for me when she was 3. And, she's 10 now. Or a note that my wife wrote me whenever we first got together. And then sometimes I'll use it. I'll be like, hey, remember when you said this? What happened? But it keeps it fun.
That sounds familiar. Okay, so let me ask you this. I have 2 questions. One, obviously you love to read.
I do.
You just keep telling people, read a book, because that's what you do. You read books.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. One day, will you take a picture and share that bookshelf with us?
Sure.
Because I think
that's
would
no
be
problem.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, that would be cool. I mean, and I have to give you props because you have a bookshelf, you love to read, and yet you just have a flag behind you. You're not trying to let everyone see all the thousands of books that I feel like people that put the books behind them, it's like they're just trying to be like, I don't really read these, but they look cool. Cause
I call those people's bluffs. I walk right up to the bookshelf, I pull one out, and I read through maybe like a page and a half, and then I'll ask them a question about it, and they'll be like, they'll either make something up or they'll admit to me that they never actually read it. And I can promise you, I have read every single book that's on my bookshelf, including my children's books, the books that my kids get as reading material for school. Like The Maze Runner. There was a book that my son recently had to read for school, and I sat down and I read it. After he was done and he didn't have it for class no more, he brought it home, and I picked it up and I read it. Everything, because that's the only way that you can absorb knowledge is by absorbing knowledge. Like, you have to stop letting people tell you how to think.
Mic drop again.
It's a dying art, right? And my daughter looked at me, she was like, why are you reading a book? I was like, because it's like the internet but made out of trees.
Yeah, it's true. It's really true. That is so true. All right, listen, we've got to go. It's already 10:34.
I had so much fun already, and it's been a pleasure being here. I can't thank you enough, Miss Sandra. I've had a good time. You're always such entertaining show and so very, very well spoken.
Thanks. Oh, Pi. So make me much good. I appreciate that so much. Listen, we do a Q-tip show. We call it the Fireside Chat because of how fucking weird everyone is. And I didn't want to get banned. Like, I'm not one of those that's like, oh, let me do this so I could get banned and then say I got banned. I don't like getting banned. It pisses me off. So We call it the fireside chat. Thing is we do it on Friday nights. If you ever would like to join us, you could join us this Friday whenever you want. I mean, I know you got a lot of kids and shit, so I don't know, but you are so welcome. I know Doc Martin, UK Neil, Grandma, I mean, they would just be thrilled to be able to talk news. There's nothing like talking this stuff, you know. It's you know, with the Q conspiracy. Enoch says you have 7 kids.
Yeah, he was giving me a shout out during the Punisher War Room little round table that they had, and it was actually the next day after, because he went back and was doing some Q&A stuff, and somebody brought my name up, and he actually promoted my project for the Sing for Freedom. Please, folks, don't forget that. I know it was like at the beginning of the show. Show patriotism. Go out 9 p.m. every day and sing a patriotic song. Wake up your neighbors. Wake them up to realize that patriotism is not dying. But with the 7 kids thing, I have 7 dogs, 4 kids. He was just speaking, and I happened to sneak into the room right when he said that. And he was like, yeah, he's got like 7 kids, and, you know, he's really fighting against the feds and trying to do this stuff. And he has his heart in this project. And, you know, it was really admirable of him to be promoting my things. I never asked him to. I didn't, you know, I just took this on my own to try to get people to do things, and he went on out of his own way to speak about it. And I happened to walk in, and I was like, I only got 4 kids, man. Like, come on, that's already rough enough. Don't put me under the bus. Like, don't give me any more. They feel like feels like they're popping out of the woodwork.
Yeah. I have 3 girls. So, you know, from 20.
You have the patience of the saint. I couldn't do it. I got 2 and 2 boys, 2 girls, and the emotional aspect of raising girls is something that I have to get used to, because I'm very logically minded, and as soon as tears start flowing, I don't know what to do. I'm like, go talk to your mom. Here, let's.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, but I feel like God bless me, and this is terrible, and I could say it. I feel like God bless me because you know, when girls grow up and get married and have kids, they still want their moms. So I feel like God was giving me some extra love, because, like, I don't know, that's the one thing that really does, like, you know, you put all this time into raising your kids, and they grow up and they move on. And it's like, I want my kids to grow, but I don't want them to leave me, in the sense of, I still want relationship. At least call me every other day. You know, like, that's, so I feel like God knew, like, I would be a basket case if I had a son and the wife just took him away. I don't know how I would do it. So I think God, like, you know, I was mad at him. I wanted all boys, because girls scare me too. But now I'm like, oh, thank God.
I wouldn't know what to do without my girls. You know, I tell them every day that they're my little angels. I tell my wife that horns are what hold up their halo. You know, but they are the reason that I get up every morning, but they're also the reason I lose sleep at night. So, you know, it's a give and take relationship. But the biggest thing with kids is they need to be treated with respect, right? Mm-hmm. And I show respect to my kids, and we have. Of course, I'm the dad. I'm a disciplinarian. I try to maintain a semblance of order in this chaos that we call home. But they're humans, right? And this goes back to the same thing we've been speaking about the whole time. We need to be humane to humans. You're not going to change anybody's mind by treating them with hatred, criticism, or disrespect. The only way that you're going to make any sort of movement in their life or in their frame of mind is to show them love, period.
Love.
You know, if somebody comes talking to me with some crazy theory that's just absolutely been debunked and just garbage, like the flat earthers and whatever, yeah, y'all can hate me in the comments. I don't care. I've seen the curve of the earth. I don't understand how people can think the earth is flat when every other planet in the solar system that I can see through a telescope is round. But I'm not going to go into that whole deal. But they need to be treated with love. The only way you can convince somebody is to find a common ground and speak to them with logic and facts, verifiable information. Stop trying to convince them that they're stupid because then they're not going to listen to anything you have to say. And don't speculate. Don't go into all this other craziness that you can't verify either. Otherwise, you're going to lose credibility. And I do the same with my daughters. The reason my daughters and my sons both have the relationship where they will come and tell me anything. They'll come, even if they think they're going to get in trouble, no matter what it is, they will come to me because they know, one, that they can trust me, two, that I'm going to be respectful to them, and three, I've learned from experience and I can verify everything that I've ever tried to tell them. You know, I have admitted my faults to my kids ad nauseum. I have been probably too honest with them at times because they know about my addiction. They know about my time in jail previously. They know exactly what's going on with the feds right now. But I've earned their respect. And the same goes with my wife.
Listen, I just want to comment because I think parents need to hear this. You know, be who you are with your kids. Because what happens is when you pretend to be someone else and they grow up and they eventually find out who you are, then they're like, they can't trust anything you said because you hid who you were. My kids know who I am too. I've been very honest with them because they need to know we're real people and shit happens. We make mistakes. It's not the mistake you make. It's your character and integrity. It's who you are as you're speaking to your kids. And when you allow them to be the humans that they are, you're allowed to be the human you are. And that's very important because, I mean, I swear, I thought my mom, like, honestly, she was, like, so anti-drug. And it wasn't until I was, like, 30-something years old I found out that she, you know, did drugs. And I was like, what? I believed her. I believed her because why wouldn't I? And then when you find out, like, no offense if you're listening now or lurking or whatever, but I mean, it's devastating to find out, like, all right, let me just say this.
Oh, very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Can I say how happy I am to push that button? Because I do love little Elvis. I love him.
That's great.
So thank you so much. Dude, you're going to have to come back because obviously we have so much more to talk about. But it's 10:42. Where can people find you?
Well, I've been banned pretty much anywhere mainstream. Like, I've been banned off of Facebook, Messenger, Instagram. The only server that I was ever on Discord got shut down. That was Enoch's server, and we all went over to Gilded from there. I'm on Telegram. I have a Gab account no longer because I deleted it because I got fed up with their, in my opinion, garbage. It just was clunky and not usable, so I deleted my Gab. I'm on GETTR, but I'm planning on getting kicked off soon because I keep pushing about how it's not a free speech platform. But if you want to find me, I'm on YouTube. I got a personal channel, a ministry channel, and then a Anon channel. I got my Anon chat and main channel there on Telegram. I'm on the Torah 3, the Tiger Network, Jim Watkins video network, streaming network, and Rumble and CloutHub. Although I'm finding out CloutHub is not very mobile friendly. I keep posting videos and then they either show up without the video and only audio, or they show up with only video and no audio.
Okay,
it's
give
probably
them.
my fault.
Well, not just that, they're making a lot of changes. They're upgrading so much.
I see so much potential in that platform. Like, it really can be a good space, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm a
working.
nerd, but I'm not the smartest when it. I'm not the brightest crayon in the box. I'm just a unique color. You know what I mean? So I'll figure it out eventually. So folks that are trying to look at me in CloutHub, I'm sorry for just the craziness that I'm putting up there because it's not very good. But yeah. Torah3.com, the Tiger Network for Jim Watkins channel, Telegram, YouTube, and Rumble.
And I
I've
put
started
all
messing
that.
with honesty a little bit.
I just put all that in the D-Live chat. And what I will do, I'm going to put your Telegram in the Coffee Talk with Sandra room so that people can get to it. And, you know, man, this truthfully, I mean, thank you. This was a blessing, man. I needed this. I needed that camaraderie of, you know, of the Lord, of Q, of patriotism. I mean, we are so fortunate. And I'll say thank you to Enoch, because it's through him that I found you. And I'm grateful for you, and I love your fight. I mean, I don't even have to say anything, because you're always like, you're right there. I learned that quick. Like, you handle business. It's really beautiful. So thank you for everything.
No, my pleasure. And yeah, I thank Enoch too, because him and his community accepted me with open arms and brought in this nerd that was, you know, very socially awkward, because I wasn't used to actually being out in the public. Like I said, I was staunchly anonymous for a long time. I just lurked in the background. I call myself a professional lurker, because I would never speak. Even when I was on the boards, I didn't speak. That's just where I spent my time. And then I would dig into all the other stuff that other people presented. You know, I didn't speak as often as some others that I'm sure, you know, had great experience at it. You know, so.
Can anybody can we still send you the singing?
Yes. You want to send me videos of you singing, I will post it on all my platforms and anywhere that I can. If you can scrape the video that I put asking people to sing, share it. It's public domain. There's no copyright. It's a royalty-free Star Spangled Banner that was sung along there. Get it out there. Get your stuff out there. If you want to send me something and to share, please do. I'm going to keep publishing videos. I'm going to keep trying to compile things, because patriotism cannot be allowed to die in this nation. Our nation was built on biblical values, and the men and women have died and served to protect the freedoms that God gave us.
Yes.
And that can't go away. You know, I'm the kid that I grew up watching baseball with my great-grandfather in the living room, and when they played the national anthem, I stood up right there in my living room and I put my hand on my heart and I paid respect to my nation. He was a World War II veteran, and I actually, after he passed, I can't watch baseball anymore because I cry. But that's beside the point. I still love my nation. Whenever the TV station does their station identification by playing the national anthem at 6 o'clock in the morning, if I'm getting ready for work, I stop where I'm at and I put my hand on my heart. I was out at BW3's eating wings one time, and the hockey game was on TV. They played the national anthem, and I stood up in the middle of my meal, and I was the only one in the restaurant that initially stood up and put my hand on my heart, and I showed respect to my nation, because it is men and women that have died, have come before us, that gave everything that they have, that cannot enjoy the freedoms in which we are taking for granted. And that is something that is dying in our nation, and it tears me up. And for the BW3s, by the way, people laughed at me. They whispered, they scoffed. My wife was embarrassed at first, but she understands the gravity because she's also a veteran, and she stood up with me in there, and I can't thank her enough. But at the end of it all, our meal ended up getting paid for. Somebody wrote on our receipt, they said, thank you for showing patriotism. And I didn't expect that. But that showed me that there is people out there that are afraid to express patriotism, whether it's from fear, ridicule, or whatever reasoning, they're silent about it. And that cannot be done anymore. This is not the time to be quiet.
It's true.
There are people being locked up for their political beliefs, for misdemeanors, for months on end, sitting in detainment, and they haven't even been to trial to be convicted yet. If somebody's convicted, like actually convicted, proven guilty without a doubt, not the smearing crap or the take a plea or we're just going to destroy you type of thing, but then anybody that breaks the law should get their due process. But they haven't been convicted yet. They haven't, but they're sitting there. They can't be visited. They can't even have congressional oversight. God knows what kind of stuff that they're being put through. If they're even there anymore, they might have been moved and they're just not wanting to let us know, because nobody can get in there to see. Nobody can get in to check. And it is part of congressional oversight. Part of their jurisdiction is to go and check the federal prison systems. that it terrifies me to know that men and women that love our country, that have not gone through due process, have not been convicted, are in a detention center where they're not allowed to have oversight.
Yeah.
This
So
is
let's
stuff we
add
hear
that.
about in the news in third world countries.
Yeah, so we need to add that to our prayer list, people, for God to show us and for us to pray for them, because God will show us. We just have to ask. We have to know to ask. We have to know to pray for these people. So
You know,
definitely.
speak
Yeah.
up and speak out.
Yeah. Thank you, Pi, for coming and hanging out. This was great. You guys, have a wonderful night. You want to say goodbye? Goodbye, sweet
No, I don't.
ones.
I
I
never
know.
say goodbye, but I say
See
I
you
love
later.
you guys. See you again.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us tonight. We'll see you tomorrow. Maybe.